Hey everyone, Landon here, with the making of Hail Mary, the music and video. So, I've already shown in the last video, the making of Acropolis, how I do the music itself for the videos. It's composed here on Sibelius. I mainly want to focus on the videos today, but I will be coming back to basically show a part of the drums that I feel wasn't coming through, which was the cymbals in the verses. The sound may need a readjustment. I would have to upload a video, and so with the right call to action, I may end up doing so. But right now, I don't feel a clear need to. So I'll just show later how the song sounds with more clear cymbals on the drums. Other than that, the process is generally the same. So starts here with the videos here. So there was many different directions to go with the art style, and what I generally like to do most is something realistic, because you'll never see something realistic doing anything magical or outside of physics. So that's really why I like doing the photorealism, because I can achieve some of those crazy shots. But for this one, there was the key factor here was the magical creatures, especially like the fairies and things. And there's a lot of things that didn't make it in the video because of how basically impossible it was to find the kind of art style of it that I was going for. So it was basically the creatures themselves are the reason why I ended up going more of a digital route for this video. And so it's a lot bigger than Acropolis because of how many generations I ended up having to do. There's $1 a piece. So basically, I haven't mentioned this before, but every time I generate an image, even if it's not usable or whatever, it's $1. So there's over 1,000 shots I ended up making for this video. I only used like less than 100, maybe 100. And so it was very expensive. And so, I'm going to be trying to stay away from digital shots in the future. And, hopefully the more I do this, the more I'll be able to, be enabled to do what I do. So the first direction I was going with was realism. And when I first made the video, it actually was realistic. I ended up replacing essentially all shots with photorealistic ones. I was going to go with the Earth Mother, who was, realistic. That's kind of me trying to get her later on. I knew that she was going to be casting a magical barrier, so me trying to get shots in the future is kind of ensuring that I'm going to be able to achieve what I want before I start. Because there's nothing worse than having a bunch of ideas and then you build to it and then you just can't get the shots that you're looking for. So like this one, I was trying to think ahead with her being angry and it just wasn't very good. Okay, it's not going to load. So I ended up going with her, the stylized kind, and I ended up finding some keywords. I actually learned a lot in this video of how certain words that you can use to help get you what you're looking for. So this was before I realized some of those words. I was still using stylized footage of photorealistic plant mother. But the way she's dancing, not dancing, but moving, it kind of goes with the music nicely. So I did build it around her. Some of the stuff from like the 1980s looking footage stuff. I was even at the point where I was considering like, am I going to be using this stuff? Because a lot of it just didn't look good. So I did get digital shots of ants and things, and all just too silly. So that's essentially the big problem is that the AI has a lot of go-to for materials that are cartoony. If it's thinking of fairies, it's not going to give you the kind of fairy, even if you describe it. I had to call it a fair folk in Enchanted Forest, looking, turning around in surprise to see what the sound was. The AI will sometimes take it too literally, the surprise on their face. But just a lot of basically essentially wasted material. It's giving me I guess it's not going to load, but it's fairy dolls. They're like flying dolls. And getting butterfly shots was like, there was a lot of the same. It just gave me the same, like some kind of documentary footage of butterflies, and I finally was able to get my kind of concept visual. I didn't ask for concept either. This is still before I learned some keywords. It's just an animated scene of a group of little butterflies, because it was giving me giant butterflies. The dwarves was a cool idea. At this point, I still had like mixed shots of photorealism and digital, and I honestly didn't know if I was going to pick one or the other or try to use both. But no dwarves made it in. I also couldn't get the dwarves to do much else. But, you know, they were either going to be like that or they were going to be like these cartoony ones right here that aren't loading. And there's a lot of shots missing too. So every time I load the browser or load the cache, it has a chance to not load all the images that I have. So if I was to reload the browser, I would have, it takes forever to load, and it would load images that are missing here. So there's more. So the night shots are what I ended up getting a lot more of, and slowly replacing essentially all day shots with night shots, except for this fox scene. Was one of my last intentions before finalizing the video, was I wanted to get a night shot of this, something similar. And later on I have a lot of times that I came back for different attempts, and I couldn't get anything better, so I stayed with the day shot on that one, unfortunately. But for the most part, it's a lot of night shots, or at least evening shots. And as you can see, just countless shots that were unused. You know, things that, you know, might be funny for some kind of side project, but not for this one. So teaching the AI what a centaur was. And that's right, footage man with horse body. So I had to teach it. Mythical centaur in a forest has man torso and horse legs in one body. And it wasn't getting it. So I thought maybe Sagittarius. It knows what a Sagittarius is. No, it doesn't know what a Sagittarius is. Puts him on a horse, archer on a horse. So when I break down on one idea, because it is $1 a piece, it gets expensive to break down. I have to move on, and sometimes I'll come back later. But I was unable to get the centaurs to work, and that's why, you know, even the fawns, the closest thing to a digital usable shot was that, but it's still too cartoony. So I moved on from fawns because it thought a fawn was also like maybe a goat or something. Couldn't figure it out. And you're right, I wanted to get hobbits in the video, and I could not, because the same reason is, you know, and it's not for lack of describe. It's a concept visual of hobbits who live in houses made of tree stumps, and you can keep regenerating it over and over again, with a chance of it just coming up with something really unique. You know, there's always that chance that it'll just do something with the words that you gave it. But I wasn't really able to get the hobbits, and I tried to get woodland folk. I spent a lot of time broke down here on woodland houses. None of it got used. Trying to get giant bulldozers that are just normal bulldozers. So that leads us to Freddie Mercury. Now, how on earth did Freddie Mercury get into this video? Well, he didn't get into the video, but he almost did. And the reason is because I had a vision of a sergeant who looks like Freddie Mercury with a cigar in the cockpit of a mothership. And it's not that I wanted him to actually look like Freddie Mercury, I just wanted him to look similar. So I ended up getting different things, and, you know, 2 cigars are there. Stylized concept visual of evil military sergeant who looks like Freddie Mercury with a cigar and with an army man on either side of him in a cockpit of a mothership. But what ended up happening, I almost even used this shot. That's not going to load. What ended up happening was I chose not to go with any side characters. I realized that this video needs to not have characters. And I know we have our Earth Mother, but other than her, I wanted it to be mostly an emotional thing, not like a movie where you're watching people. I just thought it didn't make sense to have a protagonist in this one at all. So Freddie Mercury never got into the video. And then trying to have pieces of her body breaking off kind of got inappropriate, obviously. So I tried to get what I needed from it and moved on. And then we have our machines come in and try to get a lot of footage of the Tree of Life. It wasn't too hard to get the footage of airplanes, because anytime you're going to see some kind of crazy footage of jets doing explosions and stuff, it's usually going to be along the lines of the art style that I'm going for. It's just not going to load, is it? Sheesh. But those all made it in the video because it wasn't too hard to get. Like, pretty much it was just per shot. I got all the shots for the most part. I got a couple later too. Getting bunnies was obviously really silly. Tried looking for pixies instead of fairies. So I got some pretty good shots of her all broken up and damaged. It was a digital concept visual of injured hollow tree-skinned earth woman limping in an enchanted forest. Holes all over her body like a hollow tree inside. It was literally how I just had to describe it. unicorns never made it in right there, as you can see. I tried. It was never going to work. So I keep trying to get something better, hoping that I'll get a better, maybe with a face, but nah, I ended up keeping, when all else fails, you go back to your best shots, and these were them. You're also able to take an image and put it in and have it generate a new image based on the other image, and that's how you're able to kind of get, that's the only way to get an image that does one thing and then a similar image that does another thing. Otherwise, it's always going to completely generate something generally new. I have noticed, though, if you generate back-to-back close to each other, that you have a high chance of it generating something that's pretty similar to the thing it generated before. So that was me trying to get Guardians of the Forest. I finally understood the concept of a centaur, but I didn't even ask for it. It's digital footage of the Guardians of the Enchanted Forest, digital. But the only thing I was able to get were those stones, and they actually don't appear to be here right now, so those are one of the videos that didn't load with this cache. So then comes the vines, the forest retaliating, right? And I got some pretty cool shots of the mothership going down, crashing out of the sky, entangled in vines, coming out of an enchanted forest below. But obviously the one we went with was this one. And this is where I experimented with slow motion. I have to take the video and export it into a separate thing, the clip editor, and then half the speed. So I actually ended up with a 10-second clip of this. And it wasn't enough, so I ended up having to generate a new image and try to slow that down. So that, it might be a little wonky at this part. It was me trying to fill a lot of space with this slow motion shot, which I think could have turned out better. The shot itself is not what I think could have turned out better. It's how I executed filling all that space with this shot in slow motion. But overall, it gets the effect that I was hoping for. Still pretty new at this. I'm a musician, not a video editor. Until now, I guess. So yeah, the barrier casting over. This is me trying to get those fairies, trying to get those unicorns. And I finally got a usable fairy, and it started with this one, a still shot, not moving, that I took the image of and then put it back into the video generator remember I said you could use a image to generate a new video, and so I was able to walk away with that, a little bit of movement there, and a fairy that wasn't more along the lines of what I was hoping for, at least. I did want it to be on a pedal. The original description is here. Stylized concept art visual of a fair folk standing innocently on a plantar foot. I was kind of going for that. Maybe her foot was pointed a little bit. On a lily pad over water in an enchanted forest with mushrooms. I had to add mushrooms to most of the shots, not because I wanted mushrooms in all the shots, but if I didn't say the forest, if I didn't describe the forest with mushrooms, it was going to give me like a pine forest or something. I get a lot of realistic footage of just normal American forest or something. So when you add the mushrooms, it somehow that's the key to unlocking the magic of the forest. So we're going to kind of come to a close here. Most of it is the shots that I'm trying to get later, trying to get that perfect fox shot, and I got some night shots of it, but nothing as good as that one day shot that I was unable to replace. So I ended up keeping the old one. And so yeah, that's the last of the video. So it is over 1,000. There's probably several missing here, but it was like about $1,000 project. It was pretty crazy. So we'll go to the music again, and I'm basically just going to play so you can kind of hear up to the drums kind of starting a bit. You can also just it's kind of cool to hear the music come back from Sibelius. It's always a little bit glitchy maybe, or skips beats sometimes. So once I export it, it always comes out on the beats because the computer tries to load as it plays it. So go ahead and play it right here. kind of gives you a different perspective on the music. I always hear different things depending on which platform I'm hearing it on. If I'm hearing it on a phone, I'm going to be missing out on a lot of basses. The bass line, when you have the headphones in, you hear a lot of more nuances. So it's always interesting to approach a song with different platforms and stuff like that, especially when it's the music program itself playing it. It has its own way of performing it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I have a new video coming out soon. I'm already started working on it, and I want to do this again and again. It's just, it gets very expensive, and I'm out of pocket currently, so hopefully over time I got a fan base, things are rolling smoothly. I'm getting there one video at a time. So thank you all for watching, and like and subscribe if you wish, and I'll see you again on the next one. Thank you.